NC pork. Good for the plate, great for the steak.
Down in Death Valley over the weekend, Memorial Stadium, the Blue Devils pulled off one of the signature wins of the Manny Diaz era, a 46-45 thriller over the Clemson Tigers. And let's just go through some of these quick hits. Duke quarterback Darian Mensah threw for 361 yards and 4 touchdowns. Early fireworks. Duke gets off to a hot start. 21 first quarter points. The momentum swing comes back, and this is back and forth all day long. Some questionable calls that have led to a $10,000 fine for Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney in the wake of this loss. But in the end, guys, I love it when coaches go for it. They don't want to elongate the game anymore. Bill Belichick tried it, and it didn't work against Virginia. Manny Diaz tried it, and it worked against Clemson. Tim Brewster, what goes through your mind when you're a head coach in that situation? You're Manny Diaz on Saturday in Death Valley. It's been back and forth all day. How do you decide to go for it or to kick that extra point and just play for an overtime?
On the road, taking a very, very aggressive approach. I don't know, Mike, but did Coach Brew call for the Duke victory in that game?
I think you both did.
I think I called for the Duke victory in that game, and I thought I love the players are going to feed off the head coach, okay? And Manny Diaz took a very aggressive from day one, and I've been with teams that went into Death Valley, okay? And I'm going to tell you what, you can't go tiptoeing in Death Valley. You better come and you better bring it and you better take an aggressive approach. And hats off to Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils because they played to win. They played to win. And I'm going to tell you what, they got an outstanding quarterback, and that's absolutely huge. But again, to me, it's the persona, it's the personality that the head coach took in that game. And I'll tell you what, there's some issues that the Clemson Tigers need to look at defensively, okay? Their defensive football team's got a lot of work to do. They got some adjustments to make. We've got a defensive coordinator right here on this show that's going to talk to us a little bit about the things maybe that Clemson can do to improve and get better. And some of the things, Jim, you saw in that game that turned it Duke's way.
Well, to begin with, 21 first quarter points is a huge issue, and I just wrote. I keep a little notepad with me here as we do this show, and I write down points that you make, Brew and Mike, and I just wrote down in huge letters, explosives. You can. It goes back to that all the time. If you make an offense drive the ball on you, then at some point, a high percentage of the time, Brew, you're an offensive coach, they're going to make a mistake at some point in time. If you can force them into longer yardage situations, keep the ball in front of you, you've got a chance to get them off the field. But when they throw the ball over your damn head now for touchdowns, well, it's hard to stop them in those situations. Now, I watched a lot of games last Saturday. I wrote this in a text to both you guys. I've never seen so many busted coverages in college football in my life. Receivers running wide ass open, man. And sometimes we get to the point where we overthink as coaches. We've got to have this plan. We got to have this check. We got to have that check. And you know what? We all know as coaches how to fix those things. But you know what? We don't play. Those players have to play on Saturday, and sometimes we outsmart ourselves by having too much and giving them too much to do and too much to think about. Let the players play. Don't bind them up with so much mental stuff. Simplicity sometimes is good. Brew, I think you'll appreciate this. The better players you have, Let good players play. Don't screw them up by making them think too much. Let them go out and go play. And I think if you eliminate explosives, you got a chance to be good on defense.
Great example of what you're talking about, Jim. So I saw this in that game. Okay. So Clemson's playing a two deep shell, okay, Jim, and they're really playing Tampa is what they're playing.
Yeah.
And Duke runs the vertical game down the field, and Clemson doesn't have a middle of the field defender. They don't get the backer, Jim, to take the middle third of the field and get depth in Tampa coverage, and they give up and that's just elementary, right? Right, Coach? Go ahead, Jim.
Well, the interesting thing is that I watched that play, and the TV color guy blames the backside half field player that it was his fault that they gave up the touchdown. Well, if you watched it, it was very clear they had a vertical middle player, which is what we call the middle runner in two deep Tampa coverage. Well, the vertical middle player let the receiver cross his face. The backside half field player has no effing clue what is going on to the front side. So give me a break, man. Understand before you make statements now, understand the coverage and what people are trying to do. But you're right. That's a great point in Tampa too. And it created an explosive play again.
Hey, what about
Jim, again, what your point about keeping it simple for these kids, and coaches got to understand, has absolutely nothing to do with what you know. It's what are your kids, what can they execute? And knowing, excuse me, what your kids can execute on game day is paramount. If you don't know what your guys can execute, what kind of chance do you have to win? You don't.
Guys, my father was an attorney, and he had a very unique ability to be able to break things down in a very simple, logical way. The same goes for my business partner here at the North Carolina Sports Network, David Glenn. When you look at this Duke coaching staff, and I didn't know this until I started to do my prep for this week's show, I knew that Manny Diaz had gone to law school, but I didn't know that Gabe Infante, who is the special teams coordinator for the Blue Devils, is also a graduate of the New York University School of Law. And when you talk about the explosive plays, man, that 100-yard kickoff return, just as Clemson starting to get some momentum and some positivity coming back into their veins, boom! The Blue Devils come back and make things happen on special teams. How much of an X factor is special teams play as you get into the special time of year that we're in right now, November and December, to remember?
It's as important a third of the game as offense and defense. And your special teams coordinators, I mean, we're going to win and we're going to lose games. And it's all about field position, Mike. It's all about creating field position. Offensively, we get 2 first downs and we punt the ball. We get the ball on the other side of the field and create field position. And so I think that it's so valuable. And when you think about, okay, in the national championship game, I was at Florida State and we were playing Auburn in the Rose Bowl, and late in the game, we're playing Auburn and they kick off to us, and we take a kickoff return 104 yards. Took it from the end zone, boom, 100 yards. And it's such an explosive play. And it just, I mean, there's no way, it's like a punt block, okay? You block a punt. To me, there's no more exciting play in football than blocking a punt, scoop, score, doing, and Gabe Infante has done an outstanding job. You look at those special teams all year long, and it couldn't have come at a better time in that game. Who's going to strike the match? Who's going to start the fire? And their kickoff return certainly did against Clemson.
Let me throw this out to you. That's an interesting play, but as you go back and you analyze that game and that kickoff return, the Duke returner had not returned a kickoff the entire game to that point. He had either fair caught or let the ball go in the end zone every single time. Well, this kick went to the goal line, if you remember. And now all of a sudden he returns this one. I don't know. I haven't watched the video. I'd love to watch the video.
Hey, Jim, were they relaxing?
I believe they might have relaxed and they might have assumed that he was not going to return this one again also.
That's a smart play, because how many teams do you see that are catching the ball on the 2 yard line where they could just say, hey, fair catch it, let it go, whatever, and take it at the 25? They bring it out to the 19. That's 6 lost yards. A lot of
one of the
people miss
things,
that, but 6 yards is a lot, especially when you consider that Duke's game-winning drive that started on their 6 yard line went 94 yards in 11 plays. That is a rarity. So isn't it the smart play not to bring the ball out? But in that case, maybe you just pick up on the fact that they're going to be lax, and that has been pretty much Clemson's defensive posture the entire game. They were not exactly on the ball, as we'll talk about Coach Swinney's late second quarter evaluation in a minute.
one of the things the Cardinal rules on kickoff coverage is all 11 guys had better have their butt in the end zone. Okay, they better cover. They better get get in the end zone. And as you look at it, you want to look at this as a kickoff coverage unit. I'd love to see, Jim. One of the things I always studied was how many guys did you have through the 30-yard line on your kickoff coverage unit when the ball was caught? When the ball was caught, how many guys were through the 30 and in position in their lanes to go make a play? And I'd love to be able to really study that return right there and see exactly, what happened with Clemson's unit.
What I worked with a longtime special teams coach, Mike Stock, many years ago when I was in pro football. And Mike Stock had and I'm full of these old sayings, but Mike Stock had a great one on kickoff coverage. The closer you get, the faster you run.
Right.
So you better be running and keep running and speed up. There on punt coverage now, you got to come under control sometimes. On kickoff coverage, you better hit it full speed and go as fast as you can go. And every one of you better make it to the end zone. No doubt. I agree with you 100%, Brew.
Hey, so late in that Duke Clemson game, I don't want to get out of here and not get your thoughts on this, guys. There's a pass interference call. And Wes Durham and Steve Adazio, who were calling the game on ESPN, said, that's OPI. That's OPI. And then it comes out that it's DPI. Okay? And after the game, it doesn't really matter. That's the call. You got to deal with it. After the game, Dabo Swinney is still arguing that point, and he gets a $10,000 fine for that. Now, I don't know if he lost his composure on the sideline or if he was just venting in the post game. But guys, Brew, you've been on the sideline. You've probably gotten a few bad calls in your day. Jim, you've had the same thing. How do you keep your composure in that area? Because it's got to be tough. It's tough if you're an insurance salesman and you're in the middle of a hurricane or a fire or some type of big natural disaster. Composure is key.
I'll say this: the louder you yell at them, the more you piss them off. And last time I checked, unless it's a reviewable call, then the call is going to stand no matter what. So it does no good to go yell at those guys and get all pissed off, because then the next time it gets close, then they're human too. The next call is probably going to go against you. So I never felt, you can go argue with an umpire sometimes, but that call's not going to change. But in football, why are you going to yell at the guy? The call's not going to change. It does absolutely no good except to piss them off. Now, I'm going to answer your question about that call. I am a defensive football coach. Brew, you can react to this. There was no doubt in my mind that it should have been defensive PI. No doubt in my mind.
I've chewed my share of officials' ass, I promise you, through the years. I mean, I'm an emotional guy, and it's an emotional game, and you're fighting, scratching, and clawing for your team, and these plays are so huge, and to me, it wasn't a difficult call. I mean, hell, that's defensive pass interference. I mean, I just didn't, I didn't see it any other way, Jim. And I didn't think it was the difficult call. But, hey, you're right, Jim, in that it doesn't help you. And what you have to make sure is, as the head coach, there's only one person talking to the officiating crew, and that's the head coach. Okay, that's the head coach. You get too many guys chirping at him, and the next thing you know, it's a flag day. Okay, we're celebrating Flag Day out there. You got all kinds of penalties, but that particular call right there, I'm going to side with Dabo, and I thought it was defensive pass interference. I don't think there's any question about it. But I mean, hey, there's no the call was made. Live with it. That single call did not cost Clemson the game. That call didn't cost them the game. And so, hey, that's I think the persona that you got to take in that situation is move on. Play the next play, man. Play the next play. Move on. Let's go.
And
those other 39 points is what cost them the game. There's no doubt about that. So you gotta stop them at some point and create a situation where you don't end up in that. But I think, Brew, you made a great point. You don't need everybody on your sideline talking to the official. As long as the head coach is in control and he takes charge of it. And Dabo was the one doing that. But again, you can't show people up, especially in this day and time. Things have changed so much in the way things are looked at. And you start showing guys up, then all of a sudden, then they're going to react to you a different way. They're human. You can talk to them. You can tell them that was the dumbest SOB call I've ever seen in my life, but you don't have to demonstrate it out there and make everybody, all 100,000 people or 80,000, whatever's at Death Valley. The entire stadium doesn't need to know that you're ripping their butt.
This has been Bold North State Football Daily, an exclusive presentation of the North Carolina Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at the NC Sports Net, and check out our website that is wall-to-wall coverage of North Carolina sports at ncsportsnetwork.com. Our foundational partner is the North Carolina Pork Council, raising the bacon, raising the bar. Telling the stories of the bold North State. This is the North Carolina Sports Network.